Hey, it's great to be with you again today. I'm Adrin Himilheber from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm at beautiful Red Rock Country Club, and it's just an honor to be here with Tennis Evolution and share my 3 tips to a better forehand. The first one, and from the last video, you get the non-dominant hand working with the dominant hand. I have that 4-finger rule, and we're just tucking behind that elbow. Now, I have a medicine ball here. It's about 2 pounds. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we feel the weight of that medicine ball, but the non-dominant hand and the dominant hand are working together, okay? And that I'm extending through my target. Now, the first one you can do on your own. The second progression would be that you extend out into the direction of your target or your partner. So if you're playing a little catch, you extend out to your partner. Okay, if you don't have a partner, you can set up a cone and you want to extend that arm and everything working together to extend out to your partner or that cone. Okay, the second progression would be where I put my non-dominant hand, or wrap my middle finger and my thumb around my dominant wrist. Okay, so if you see I'm right-handed, I'm lining up my left thumb and my left middle finger. Okay, so they wrap around my wrist, and I want both hands working together. As you can see, it's a little more challenging for me to really pull back and have that extreme backswing. Okay, so now I'm using more of the kinetic chain. Now I'm using more of my core muscles, and you want to do that same movement. So you're extending, both arms extend, and then you can release after you work your first progression. Now, if you don't have a partner, you can still use a cone. My second tip, okay, would be to just take a tennis ball, and what we want to do is we want to make sure these two are together and these are lined up. So my right hand is lined up with the tennis ball. Okay, so I have some space. I always say create a V. Okay, you don't want to get here and make a T, but you want to create a V. And now these hands work together. Both of these arms extend together, and then you're actually going to try to follow through and catch at the throat of the racket, but with the tennis ball. You'll notice that even with some shadow swings, if you go slow, it's a little easier. Once you start going a little faster, things might get a little sloppy. So really check yourself and see where you're finishing. Now, the second progression of this second tip would be to actually get a handball feed, okay? And what you can do is you can tap the first one so you know your spacing is there. Then you want to hit the ball about a half a foot outside of that tennis ball. So when you make contact, then the follow through is here at the throat. So you really want to make sure you do that, okay? My third tip, okay, would be to go around this net and have a partner either feed to you, okay, or a coach. And if you don't have a partner, you can just start this progression here. So you notice that once I'm dropping the racket, I can't pull back any farther from this net. And I can even bring this tennis ball from the second tip with me. So if I want to have my partner, I tap it, or I can just hit, and then I want to finish over my shoulder, over the net. And like I mentioned, you want to catch at the throat. So my partner's feeding the ball, or my coach is feeding the ball, and then I'm working these progressions. Now, when you make contact, you should feel like the non-dominant hand is on the other side of this net, and your extension is way out in front, okay? Once these two work together, okay, then these two can finish together. So you want to just make sure, like those other drills, that the non-dominant hand is working together. What I see a lot with players is the non-dominant hand does not work with the dominant hand, or you'll see a lot of tucking and spacing issues. So you want to make sure that you have that space, okay, and you work that drill. If you start finding that you're hitting the back of the net a lot, then you probably have a huge backswing. But you also don't want to start right here and then just kind of get stiff and not really get that motion fluid. So you want to stay somewhere close to that net, but just make sure you're standing over it, okay? Like I mentioned, you can use the tennis ball to help you with the progression. Now, just to recap, okay? The first tip I gave you was with the medicine ball, okay? The 4-finger rule, okay? And those progressions to the non-dominant hand around the dominant hand, and those progressions, okay? The second tip I gave you was using the tennis ball for spacing. So if that ball comes out, let's say I have a feed, right? I want to make sure that spacing's out there. And then on the second one, I'm hitting outside of that hand, okay? And I'm catching at the throat over the shoulder. Now, The last one was doing those progressions on the other side of the net. Now, if you enjoyed the tips and the lesson today, please click on the link and subscribe. Please follow us. And I promise you, I have one more tip for you. Rafa uses this. It's how a lot of Spanish tennis players develop. I've trained in Spain with some of the best players in the world. I've learned from some of the best coaches in the world, and I want to share that information with you. Now, if you click on the link below and subscribe and click on this link right here, I will send you one more tip. It's what Rafa does every single time. He's an unbelievable player, if not one of the greatest tennis players of all time. But with this tip, you'll be able to do the same things that Rafa does on his forehand that will help you. Thank you so much for subscribing, and I really enjoyed our lesson today.